Hi, this is Louis Perkins, president at the Apparel Impact Institute, and I thank all of you for joining us today to learn a little bit more about AII's partnerships with some key solution providers that are working with us in collaboration for decarbonization in the apparel supply chain. And so today I'm joined by Gilberto from Smartex. Hi, Gilberto.
Hey guys.
From Tercio from Acatel,
Hi.
and Hernani from Impetus.
Hi.
Today, we're just going to talk a little bit about each of the organizations and how they're also in partnership and collaboration with each other. And I'm really excited to learn from you all on how you're doing this and how you're achieving success. Last year, Smartex was chosen as one of our climate solution portfolio registrants. And that was really due to the strong reduction potential for carbon and your commitment to providing detailed impact data, which is important. We're a data-driven organization. At the end of the day, what we want to show is that all of the solutions that we're getting behind and helping to scale, presenting to suppliers, are actually achieving the KPIs and metrics that the industry is looking for. Can you share with me a little bit more about your technology and how it fits into this collaboration and how it helps build the business case for decarbonization?
What we do at Smartex, we install hardware, so cameras and sensors inside textile factories, inside textile machines while they are producing fabrics. We can capture that data and help the manufacturers, like Impetus is one of our early clients, to optimize their production. Specifically, in our first application is to detect defects. So folds, defects, holes, contaminations, because the textile industry has some inefficiencies due to that, 5 to 10% of the production. By applying this hardware in the machines as early as possible in the process, we can stop the machines, we can alert the operators, alert the managers, and they can have like a seamless production. So everything that they buy, they produce, and they sell with minimum wastage. So how does that impact, for example, the carbon footprint? I don't know if many of the audience is familiar, but most of the impact of CO2 and energy and chemicals, it comes from the fabrics manufacturing, especially in the dyeing process. So most of the brands and factories, they invest a lot of money on inspection, quality control after that process to avoid producing garments with defects. But we at Smartex, we are putting these cameras before this process. We are putting it as early as possible in the process so we can avoid those fabrics to proceed. And that's how most of our impact is made in the industry.
And I've had an opportunity firsthand to see your technology in play when we were in Portugal last year. And I'm sure you'll talk a little bit more about this too, and we'll hear about it from others, but the cost savings, I can imagine that, presents a real value proposition to the supplier who's looking at ways to eliminate, wasteful inputs, right?
We really need to focus on the savings on materials, savings on energy, savings on time. That's where the ROI is, and that's why companies like Impetus and some other of our clients, they acquire Smartex. It's because of those savings, not so much about the human aspect, because that part is a bit more complex to automate in this industry.
I appreciate you making that point, and that resonates with us at Apparel Impact Institute. As you know, a lot of our origin of programs we were scaling really looked at those efficiencies that could get created that also created value back to the supplier. We know for decarbonization, there's a tremendous amount of investment that may be required. So any way we can start by saving, it's a great way to make that business case as well.
Someone needs to pay for it, yeah.
Tercio, tell me about Acatel and your role in this, the company's role in the supply chain, and what motivated you to focus on decarbonization? What benefits have you seen throughout your work with Smartex and Impetus?
I think the acatel business is the finishing mill business is one of the most challenging part of the present textile chain, because normally when you go to the Far East, they are normally integrated in a vertical company. When you go to other areas, it's not. Like in Portugal, we service more than 100 customers. So we are the partner that needs to link the quality of a knit with the color that you want on the fabric, trying to be as efficient as possible. And this is the main challenge that we face. We have the problem of the waste, the knits that come with defect, like Gilberto said, that in fact a big part that we see in our activity is that we receive defective knit, that we don't see it in gray, and then we dye it, and at the end we have X amount of kilos that are being wasted, put aside, and need to be redone quickly because an order is waiting. So we look today that Acatel business is a part of the product environmental footprint analysis that is taking a big role in Europe in the next year. And subjects like energy and how we are doing to it, and changing chemicals and how we are applying them to be more carbon effective, is a role that we need to pass to this supply chain. So it's not only the technologies, it's not only the way we do it, new product, and we need to pass all this data to the product that we are finishing. But we need to integrate it with what is coming to us. So that's a little bit of the work that we are doing together with Impetus, Smartex, and Acatel, that is picking up the information that is being put in the loop system, that is transferred to the finishing system, and I'm reading what I'm receiving. And this will permit me to be more efficient in my dyeing process and comply with the quality that my customers are demanding, trying to avoid waste of fabric, time, resources, water, whatever. Also, decarbonization is a must in our industry because we are very energy intensive. So one of the main hurdles that we have is how I can change my sources of energy and be still effective, impacting not only the carbon footprint of a product, but also permitting to be more efficient in terms of cost. So there is a big work, and then there is the need to integrate all this data. If you don't integrate this data, you will never be able to do a digital product passport or a product environmental footprint and have the reasoning at the end of, is your solution really sustainable? So are you really doing the best process? So if you don't integrate all the actors in this supply chain, you will not have a clear reading of what is being done. And this is one of the main challenges that we are facing at Acatel, and that's the challenge that we are taking it with Smartex, to apply it not only with Imtus, but apply it to all the other customers that are in the market, so that we can share the information. I think that's the main point. And of course, we know that we represent in a normal LCA approach, we know that materials have about 40% impact, finishing about 45, and then the rest of the supply chain, the CMTs and so on, a very small part of this. So when you are looking to decarbonization, we need to come from behind and work a lot at the point of the finish.
You're bringing up a great point, which is if we follow the carbon, then it is those processes and stages of the product development and the product manufacturing. It's critical that we're looking at, 5 to 10% efficiency and savings is huge when you're talking about against 45%, impact of carbon in that level. And as you pointed out, it's other KPIs related to water and chemicals and everything that goes into the input of these products. And I like that you pointed out it's not just about the cost savings and efficiency. There's regulation and policy and requirements that are here today and coming, and you're getting ahead of that, which is, I think, smart business, future-proofing your business, right? Hernani, I want to hear from you about Impetus and tell me about how you all fit, share more about the company, and then how are you partnering with Smartex and Acatel to support your sustainability goals and also to keep you competitive?
Of course. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting each group to take part in this discussion, and also for the opportunity to talk about this partnership of enormous values to us. We are a Portuguese textile company with more than 50 years of history, and we are one of the most vertical structures in Europe. From the item to the final products, We have the capacity to do all the process in-house. We have our own brands, impetus, AM and Protect in areas such as underwear, nightwear, loungewear, and medical devices. We also work with many recognized brands in private label on a daily basis. For this verticality, we have Acatel, our dyeing and finishing house. Acatel is an independent company, but Impetus Group as a shareholding. The benefits of this collaboration are closely connected to the fulfillment of our objectives concerning both environmental and economic sustainability. Smartex technology allows us to reduce the amount of raw materials used, reduce defects, save water and energy, reduce costs, and improve the information to be transmitted between different stages of production. With Acatel, for example. For us, this partnership allows us to identify better solutions to reduce environmental impact and meet all our criteria for advancing decarbonization in supply chain.
I really appreciate that you acknowledged, just today's conversation, how important it is to have, all three of you here together, because each one of you is sharing a part of the story of why this technology and innovation is critical and you're benefiting from it. So that kind of makes me start thinking about, this concept we talk about a lot in the industry, collective action. But how does that translate into actually partnerships for collective impact, right? Acting together is one thing, but then actually being able to, demonstrate that partnership that you all have formed is driving impact. And I'd love to hear some of the lessons learned from you all in terms of that. So let's go to Impetus first then, and then, share a little bit about how the partnership has helped you reach your goals. That would have been difficult to achieve if you were trying to do this alone? And why do you feel like collective action is really essential for you in terms of meeting these decarbonization goals?
We are all aware of the challenges that sustainability poses. More specific concepts such as traceability, circularity, zero waste, transparency, decarbonization, measuring impacts, and others. They represent not only a huge paradigm shift in our area, but also a great number of opportunities. At Impetus, we work on all these concepts, not only by constantly improving our production process, but also making products available to the market with a little impact as possible and with a circular approach. In this complex context, we believe that no one can be successful alone. The success of sustainability depends on partnerships. It is from this belief that this partnership between Impetus and Acatel and Smartex was born. As producers, our focus is on producing and putting good innovative products on the market. We often identify needs and opportunities for improvement, but we don't always have the internal capacity to promote these improvements. Partnership allows us to accelerate our developments. Each agent must be focused on their activity. The power of a good partnership, having a group of partners working toward a common goal, is immeasurable. The Loom defect detection system was implemented at Impetus in 2022. This system was acquired to increase the efficiency of our process. With Smartex system, we can detect defects directly during knitting. This is a huge gain in efficiency. All the defects are corrected directly in the knitting process. We are not dependent on the post-inspection process or wait for the final quality inspection. This improvement allows us directly to save raw materials, energy, water, and time. Generally speaking, after installing Smartex system, we have increased our level of quality, efficiency, and service. Another advantage is the integration of production data into the Smartex loop. Most of the internal production traceability is included on the label. This provides relevant information to the next steps in the process. That can adjust their process according to the material they will receive. Last but not least, we can mention the integration of this data with our management software. Only together, in resume, we can empower a more efficient and sustainable future.
Can I add something to this ecosystem part? You need to have the brands, which, by the way, Impetus also has their own brand. I highly recommend the men boxers, okay, Lyocell, super amazing. You will never want to wear other underwear. So they have the brand, the garment factory, the dye house, and the knitting factory. And only with these 4 points was able for us, like this was a free consulting from our customers to give us the ideas on how to collect all the data from the supply chain.
My brain was already going there as I was listening. I think that what's great about what you guys are doing also, and I'd love to hear from the group too, but it's like collective action, in action is where you start to learn, like, what does the customer need? What would be a better service or tool that we could provide? Listening. When we were on site looking at the technology, we saw the QR code and we learned a little bit about what value that adds. We saw the dashboards. What value does that add? And so it's the ability for you guys to listen and learn and co-design something that's going to bring that value better to, this is how we operate. I don't want to dig through a report. I want to actually have something that I can see, and be available real time. The advice, I think, is we're looking at other companies who are probably in the position you've been in to evaluate tools. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. Some of them are early stage, some are mid stage, some have piloted, but they really aren't modeled out across a couple different countries or product types or manufacturing processes. So I'm sure that you probably have some good advice for how you evaluate partnerships, and then, what kinds of challenges you come across in working together and how you overcome those. I'd love to hear your advice.
I think it's case by case. So I think a partnership in this area, when you have a textile business that is being reshaped, so creating a new approach to be sustainable, to be circular, but to keep the same price point, that's the big elephant in the room that nobody likes to speak, but you can apply whatever you want, but you can put a technology that decreases the carbon footprint. But if I ask you 15% or 20% price increase, you don't pay. We need to look at solutions that are scalable at long term, that can bring us the capacity to answer as per today and all disadvantages. So these partnerships and the partners together, we need to have a long-term view, and it needs to be a win-win. So we need to understand that the partner is also winning with a partnership with us, like we want to win also in the application. And the results needs to be logical for us, but also for our partners that are learning with us to apply it in other markets, in other clients, because the needs are practically the same. So it's really a resilience mode in some case, because some of the solutions, and Gilberto knows that, like he said, that there was a learning curve in applying smartex to be more shaped to us. The smartex use in one company is not the same in another company. In a finishing mill, there is also a role in the smartex in a long-term view, because I'm scouting the quality of many customers. So I can qualify it. I can put the tracer as the loop label. I can have an inspection in the beginning. I can have an inspection at the end that have better eyes than people. So it's really about a long-term view and a win-win approach. And it's, you get to know the partners. You need to continue to invest in an open and trust way. And I think also entities like Apparel Impact Institute play an important role, because sometimes it's important to resilience in these works, in these approaches, and the connection to the brands to understand what is being done. And sometimes we are so much into the ground that we cannot really show the impact. And I think that you have an important role to play, because there is a need to have external entities looking, and even sometimes giving some inches that maybe you should also communicate this way, or we could use that way. But overall, it's a test when it's to understand really that this technology that you're using makes sense, that there is an impact, that there is a will from the uh, innovators or technologies developers. They have the will to adapt to the industry, because the textile industry is more stiff to adapt. So let us give this work. So, and if you are able to understand that you are able to adjust in the long term, I think the chances are good. If but we need to be resilient, and we need to have a long-term view and a trust-based work.
You said a couple of things that obviously resonate with me, and it really is taking that longer term approach. But it's also thinking about how does this get applied to other customers, other markets, other regions, and recognizing, and I commend you all because you're doing this publicly with me right now. This is recorded. You're sharing what you've done. There's a lot of versions and examples of innovation happening behind closed doors because they might be proprietary or they're perceived as, a first mover advantage. Like nobody else has smartex. We're the only ones. And I think we've been in that space in the industry a lot, and there will still be innovations where it's smart to market that as your technology or your innovation. But when we're looking at bigger goals for the industry at large and the planet at large, as you pointed out, an organization like AII is about making things available and sharing them. And so I just want to take this moment, and I'll probably do it again at the end, to thank you all for being willing to talk about this and be willing to be listed in a public space like our climate solutions portfolio, where perceived competitors are going to learn and they're going to take on this technology too. Now, turning that back to smartex, who I know you love for more people to learn about what you're doing. So tell me, as we're playing the long game and we're looking ahead, what's the next big step for this collaboration, and then, collaboration in general? And then how do you see the combined efforts of you guys working together continuing to drive this industry-wide change?
Yeah. So since we started, we always looked to the defect detection as an amazing way to start, because we create immediate value for the factories. But it's a nice product and a nice growth. And we have been growing a lot with this first approach. That's why now we operate in 10 countries. We have more than 100 clients, thousands of systems sold. That was a nice start. But we always looked at this in the perspective of an ecosystem. Right now, we have a cockpit, a dashboard for fashion brands and for garment factories that they can see how their supply chain is going, and also can predict accidents. This ecosystem play is what we are working on with Impetus, with Acatel, and with many of our other clients, and also with fashion brands. And just to answer to your initial point that you mentioned, I think you guys are doing a great job. It's very difficult to put new technology in the industry, which will take decades maybe to change. Therefore, guys like you, kudos to you, and you are the one doing an amazing job promoting and collecting the brands and all the players, legislators, for a common platform. And I think it would be stupid for me to not be here, even despite my competitors will also appreciate.
I appreciate that. And thank you for the nod to the role that AII wants to play, and I believe is playing. And obviously it's our goal to scale our ability to have more programs and technologies available to suppliers. And so thank you for that, and the knowledge that's what we're building. The exciting part about all this work is that we're bringing more cool innovation into this sector, and it's products that have been made kind of the same way for a long time, on the same type of processes, same type of energy, same type of equipment. And now there's so much creativity around how you bring technology, and you've mentioned a couple tech companies, like how do you bring that lens of, a data-driven, efficient, but also positive impact world. And so I get excited because in my job, I get to meet family members that sometimes are the next wave of generation of leadership. And they're really jazzed up about sustainability, but specifically because they're jazzed up about innovation, and the two are together.
You have thousands of combinations, infinite combinations of garments and colors and aspects and measurements. So you have many factors here that are making the industry in general being slow adopting technology. And that's why, yes, the early adopters and those guys that you mentioned that are the most innovative, those are the ones that will drive the world, and they will be future-proofing their business.
If you could ask one thing from the listeners, a stakeholder, whether it's a brand, retailer, consumer, policymaker, other NGOs, or really anyone in this ecosystem to accelerate decarbonization, what would it be?
Get involved with a long-term view. Don't just look and see it quickly. Go, be present, try to help, try to make it scalable, try to make it at the price point that is needed. Some technologies will surely need to scale, grow up in terms of business to be competitive. But it's important that the actors of this textile business, that can be producers, fiber producers, technology providers, whatever, need to stick in a long-term view and with commitment.
Hernani, what is your call to action?
Climate change, it's already one of the most biggest vulnerabilities in today's global supply chain. In my opinion, political decisions need to be more precise and cross-cutting, and brands and producers must transcend the traditional power imbalances. They have to work together with transformational approaches that support real systemic change.
And we'll then end with Gilberto on the call to action.
I have a very, very specific call to action, is especially for garment factories, not like Impetus, they already have done it, but for garment factories that are listening to us, or fashion brands that are minimally interested in their supply chain, what's going on in the backstage. Contact me. My email will be surely here or in my LinkedIn. And I would like to do a test with you of proving that your garment cost sheets and your lead times will get better when we apply smartex systems in your supply chain. Right in the beginning, you will see the impacts here in the end. I will explain you how. So that will be my call to action.
My call to action is the same, which is that, we're resourcing AII in the Climate Solutions portfolio to be an available platform for people to find out about guys like you. So you can certainly go to apparelimpact.org and click under the Climate Solutions portfolio in our registry, and you can find information about you guys. First of all, I just want to thank you all for spending a few moments with me today as we're across different time zones and making it fit into your calendar and your schedule to have this conversation. What I heard from you guys that I think is important is we talk a lot about partnership and collective action. I mean, you can go to any conference on this topic and that's kind of the buzz, and there will be panels, and presentations around this concept. But when it comes to like real world, how it's being done, this is where you really have to lean into people that are doing it. And that's what you guys have demonstrated, that you're partners together. You're thinking about this as the solution you're trying to solve, and each one of you brings something to the table to make it better. And that's kind of what we do. It's a design thinking approach. You continue to turn or rotate or manipulate things until they fit, right? And so from a design thinking, you go back to the drawing board, you reiterate, you keep improving upon things. Think from a VC investor perspective, there's even an appetite to say, you learn from your mistakes really fast, and we give a bandwidth for that. And I think that's another call to action I would add as I close today. What I heard from you guys is the day you start isn't going to be perfect, and you're going to have to figure things out. And you may start with one tool like a camera and then realize you're providing a tech dashboard, and more data and information and working together. And so that ability to not be afraid of this work and not be afraid of failure, I think in an industry where we probably don't have a huge margin for failure because it can hit price point, but that companies need to invest in innovation. We see it in tech, we see it in healthcare and pharmaceuticals. There's a lot of innovation that gets invested in because the prize at the end is huge. And I think that needs to be applied to this sector as well too, where if my call to action to a CFO at a company that's, making decisions on where to invest, it's invest in innovation and be willing to stick with it. Don't give up after the first time it doesn't work, but really stay in for the long game, as I heard you guys talking about as well. Well, again, thank you all for your time.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
And I'll see you soon, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Ciao.